Welcome to Read Your Comics. Today I'm looking at Fantastic Four Roast. This is a comic that came out in 1982 in honor of the Fantastic Four's 20th anniversary. Fred Hembeck, who was a humor artist, had been around for a little while. He writes this. He does very little of the actual art in it other than this cover. This is a fun little book. It definitely has some good gags in it. If you're into humor books and stuff, keep an eye out for this because it's definitely worth picking up. And it's very of the time. But one of the fun things about it is this. Is this cover. This is a kind of a rough copy, so I'm not worried about pushing it down. Is this Hembeck cover, who's always fun. Hembeck always has these like swirly knees. Don't get a lot of that. It's always fun to see his interpretation of any of these characters. I love his Silver Surfer here and Thor, Iron Man, Storm. I guess that's Black Panther. Some funny looking goggles. Kind of gives you a good snapshot of what was going on in 1982 as well. Hembeck starts out with just kind of an introduction of what this book is about. Kind of makes fun of like people who are continuity snobs or sticklers, and says like, "Look, this is not in continuity. Don't try to take it as such. This is fun. This is a gag. I mean, it's called a roast." If you'll notice, it says story and layouts by Fred Hembeck, plot assist and editing Jim Shooter, art almost everybody. So there is a ton of artists in this book. I mean, basically anybody who was anybody in this era of Marvel did at least a page of this book. I don't remember who did this, but I like this opening page. It's definitely in that classic FF Kirby style opening splash page, and it's a splash because it's he's in the bathtub. So he's getting ready for this banquet. He doesn't realize it's going to be a roast exactly. He just thinks they're going to a banquet to honor them. This is a page, you can tell this is John Byrne. This is definitely a John Byrne page. And by 82, I think he had probably just started doing FF about that point. You got to get good. Johnny heats up the bathtub, makes the thing burn. They talk about Franklin and who's going to watch him. And you've got Alicia right here watching Franklin, who looks like he has a thermometer in his mouth as if he's sick, but they don't really say that he's sick. Anyway, it's funny because where the art changes, you've got Alicia here with her short hair, and then it jumps to her having long hair right there. This is Micheal Golden, I believe. At first I thought it was Perez, but the more I looked at it, it didn't, just because of all these like characters jam-packed in here, and but I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure it's Micheal Golden because they don't actually credit any of the artists in here. You're kind of guessing, which makes it fun in itself. So they arrive to the party. The first speaker is Spider-Man. I'm going to guess this page is by the Romitas. I think they did it together. It kind of looks like maybe Junior penciled and Dad inked here. And he's interrupted by the Sandman. And he lists off all the villains that are there for the roast as well. And they have some pretty funny little one-liners too. Like, what was the one? There was one that was pretty funny. Like the hate monger. I'd probably enjoy this beer more if I had a mouth opening in my hood. This is the only way to beat that lousy New York traffic is for the mole man to come up. You have the Miracle Man, who I don't know that he ever appears again other than those early FF issues. And he's like, I thought all you scrolls were green. I was like, that's the red scroll. You got Puppet Master here. Galactus walking in the background. Where are the hors d'oeuvres? This page almost looked like Ditko, but when I tried to look it up, I don't think Ditko actually contributed to this book. But this Sandman definitely looks like the way Ditko used to draw Sandman back in the Spider-Man books. I think this Cap is Mike Zeck. Cap tries to give a pretty straight-laced speech, makes a joke about how he was in World War II and his excuse is he was frozen on ice, but why is Ben Grimm and Mr. Fantastic, they fought in World War II, why are they in it? Oh, along the way, too, you've got this, there's some threat with the food. The food keeps coming back with, like, there's a bomb in it. And Reed's like, don't alarm the guests, who are all superheroes. Just put it in your mouth and use your flame in your mouth to melt it. Iron Man with his roller skates. This is probably, I would guess, Bob Layton. This kind of looks like Micheal Golden a little bit to me, too. But again, nothing's credited, so it's really hard to say. The Submariner pages, of course, he comes and is all about some Sue. This guy's all wet. This is such like Mad Magazine stuff. Oh, like Iron Man smoking the cigar, too. But it gets like in his helmet, and he's like, and he makes a joke about giving up drinking, and now he's giving up smoking. I love this Hulk page. If you've ever seen the SNL skit of Chris Farley playing the Hulk at Superman's funeral, this is basically the same thing. The Hulk, except the Hulk is in a suit and he wasn't in the funeral scene, but he shows up and he's kind of like, oh, I can't see, and he pulls out his glasses to read better, and then just reads some jokes, and he's like, ha ha ha. He's reading some jokes and they're not very good. It's like, why did puny human throw clock out the window? Give up to see if time could fly. Why did Hulk throw puny human out the window? To see if puny human could fly. And the audience is like, a gasp. You don't think it's funny? They don't want to upset the Hulk. And then he's like, I gotta go. I got a bar mitzvah coming up. This is definitely a Sal Buscema page. You can tell by the Hulk faces, because nobody did the Hulk face like Sal Buscema. Then the Invisible Woman gets her salad that has some kind of bomb or something in it too. Luke Cage and Iron Fist, they get into like an argument. I guess that's like play on, they were probably always bickering with each other. It's funny because, Luke Cage for one issue like filled in as a member of the Fantastic Four, so they bring that up, and they mention like Iron Fist has never actually met him. He's like, why don't you bring me around your friends? I introduced you to my friends. Then we get all the Avengers cram onto the stage. They each get their little gag. Thor gets his own chance. He calls Ben Grimm bald, which he takes offense to. And he's like, what is it like? You're more bald, and I should know because I have a bald friend. Balder. Balder the Brave. They make more bald jokes by putting all the bald characters together at one table. You've got, Professor X and Moondragon. It's kind of hard to tell who all's there. Obviously, the Watcher and Silver Surfer are all there. Frank Miller Daredevil page here. This is probably a hidden Frank Miller Daredevil for any completist looking to get every time that Frank Miller worked on that character in their collection. You got to get this book. You got a whole page of Frank Miller Daredevil here. He's definitely hitting up he pulls a flashlight up. He shows up like that. He puts a flashlight on the podium to, give the lighting that he wants. Mr. Fantastic putting bunny ears on his shadow. Pretty good little gag there. Then the X-Men show up, and when the X-Men come on, they basically throw hard shade on the FF about how the X-Men have gotten so popular, they've eclipsed the Fantastic Four, and they don't understand why this party isn't even for them. Get Doctor Strange, and they make some joke about eternity, so eternity pops up. Yeah, from here to eternity. More food. There's a little mini machine gun in the Cornish hen that's feeding him mini bullets, which he uses his elastic body to just essentially catch them and then spit them back out. Ghost Rider shows up wearing a tux. Medusa has to read from Black Bolt. Black Bolt's basically like, there's someone here to destroy you. Which Reed's still trying to be like, oh, don't worry about that. We'll get that under control. And then he gives everybody else a chance to like wrap up their stuff. Now that was one of the things. Oh, this ice cream thing going up. So Ben's just like, just eat it. Or, I mean, Reed's just like, just eat it all. So it's slobbering time. That's a pretty good panel. And then Doctor Doom shows up. Of course, they assume Doctor Doom is behind all these like little mini attacks they've done. He's like, wrong, camel breath. And he gives his 2 cents on the FF for ruining his life. That if he hadn't been invited on a panty raid with Richards on that fateful night in college, he might have turned out different. And when the lights go out and Reed's finally like, okay, we need to do something, Doom's like, I hope you lose. Then we get this 2-page spread. This is kind of a jam session of the different artists that worked on the book. I think everybody kind of did their own characters again. I could definitely see Byrne right there. This has to be a Dave Cockrum X-Men. I don't know if he did the X-Men page in the book. It didn't look like him. That might even be like composited from something else. That definitely looks like a Romita. Mike Zeck doing Captain America for sure. Definitely Sal and Frank doing their respective characters. You know, it's composed in a weird way, so they either passed this around or they just said, like, draw this character, and then they, like, pasted it all together. Turns out the person behind it is Willie Lumpkin, who had stumbled on this, like, brain helmet device that Richards had invented early on, and it kind of took over his mind and caused him to be a villain. All is forgiven, though, with that. Then we get to just kind of, you know, cram through the last few characters that needed to get their joke in. Like Ant-Man, not the astonishing Ant-Man. Because I said it was the astonishing Aunt May. Ah, that's Torchy. No, it's Ant-Man. Even Howard the Duck and Man thing get to pop up. Agatha Harkness. Aunt May shows up as Captain Universe. Brother Voodoo's there, the Dazzler. And then the FF finally get to make their jokes about being hot, fading out. Reed makes a Don Rickles joke, and what is it the thing says anyway? Anyway, what can I say but things for the memories? And Hembeck, things for the memories. And it ends up making Black Bolt laugh. He's been silent the whole time, and he ha 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 ha, and brings the house down. Boom boom. It wraps up with Hembeck basically talking about some of the silly gags that Kirby and Lee pulled in some of the early issues of FF to point out there's always been humor in the FF. So, fun little book. Definitely pick it up if you spot it out somewhere. That's all I got for today. As always, read your comics.